I had a guess. Now, what kind of cigarettes do you buy if you're going to go to jail? And they let you smoke in jail here, so that they last the longest. You don't buy the ones that you like. You buy the ones that have like all the tobacco in it. And I got the Grandma Killer Hundreds Pall Malls. They're just all tobacco all the way through. I figured, who knows how many of these I'm going to need, and maybe I got to trade for a blanket. I don't know how it works here. Welcome
to another episode
of Driving to the Res, Ask Me Anything edition.
with Larry and Inelia, and today we're going to be interviewing...
We're going to be interviewed by this little book. We interviewed each other.
This one. Well, we're going to ask me anything
Of ourselves. Right. Because it seemed fair. We asked our panelists some of these questions.
We did.
And,
Yeah.
you know, the answers were interesting because despite knowing each other for a while, some of these answers were bringing information that we didn't even know we didn't know.
I know.
To
There's
ask
a
what,
whole
you know?
bunch of stuff
Yeah.
I didn't know about each one of them.
Right.
Like, I thought I knew you, and I know nothing about you. Now I know about more, and so do you.
Now we know what kind of questions to ask at the Sunday dinner. It's like,
Yes.
so tell me about the last book you read.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're learning
Yes.
icebreakers. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Anyway.
before we begin
Yes.
on the questions about books,
Yes.
Larry,
Indeed.
tell me about yourself. Just, in a few words, tell me who you are.
Well, I'm a lot of different people, I think, to a lot of different beasts.
Yeah.
Yeah. To my dogs, I'm the source of all meat and runs.
And pets and treats.
Pets and cuddles and
Cuddles
kisses.
and kisses.
To the chickens, I am primarily singular source of morning seeds.
Yes.
Well, the seeds that come from
Somewhere.
exist, we don't know. There's like this never depleting blue garbage can. They don't know that it's a garbage can. It's this blue center of the universe.
Yes.
All good things come from that, and I am the source of all good things from that.
In the morning.
In the morning, Brett in the afternoon, who's the
Mm-hmm.
source of all good things from the blue
Yes.
central source.
Yes.
Yes. So to
Your cats?
my cats,
You're a very good
I'm
cushion
the
to
good-
lie on.
if I sit anywhere for any length of time, then I'm the place to sit and be warm. Yeah, and get
Yes.
pet. Occasionally wrestle with your, with your hand in their belly. Yeah. So I'm a source of entertainment and a source of warmth. And, it isn't so often that I really actually have to feed those ones.
Yeah, that's true.
They seem to feed themselves. So I'm not like the all-consuming, the all source of nourishment,
Food, no.
right?
Somebody else
Not like
is
the
that.
cats, not like the dogs and the chickens.
Yeah.
And for the people in our house, I tend to fill that all source of I'm hungry food.
Yeah.
I want some dessert. I want some dinner. I want some lunch. I want some breakfast.
Breakfast, coffee,
Seems to be a role.
tea.
So the who I am
Chocolate
is
treats.
the provider of treats
And
for
food.
all manner of beings in my existence.
Excellent.
That's who I am.
Cool.
How about you, honey? Who are you? In a short way. Okay, you can be long. Like, this question's interesting.
Would you like to answer it for me, honey?
Oh, no.
No?
That's that's not the purpose of Ask Me Anything, is to tell you who you are.
Okay. All right. Well, I am a female, human female, born female, staying female, and in this lifetime. I was born in Chile. That's in South America, for anybody who doesn't know.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm in my late 50s now. And I have lived pretty humanly, possibly normal life, I think. You pull a face.
I'm
And-
sure in our second hour, speaking of which, if you want to know
all the in-depth
the
stuff.
questions that the panelists who are now, very well,
Yes.
what they're going to ask, I'm sure they'll be asking for a little more details on some of these normal lives that you've had. Mm-hmm. Yeah. In what reality we consider them normal?
I'm thinking in the light dark paradigm,
Yeah, maybe.
there was a lot of stuff happening. What I noticed from early on was that there was a lot of attempts at my life.
Yeah. As this happens with a young woman, of course.
Or unborn baby.
Unborn baby.
New baby.
Yeah,
infant.
everybody's always trying to kill them. That's normal, honey.
Well, I thought it was.
Yeah, well, it's not.
Yes, I figured out in this middle part of my life that, that's not actually normal. But anyways,
It was your experience.
I
And it was your
persevered.
normal experience.
Yes, I persevered. And even though I came out of it worse than I would have been, less powerful and less able than I would have been if I hadn't been
Continuously attacked.
yes. I still managed pretty good, I think. Although I did give up for a few decades, a couple of decades, I give up on life and everything. I have no idea how I survived that part. But generally speaking, I've managed to get up and brush myself off and, continue on. As a person who am I introduction? Well, I'm a writer, a novelist, and also write empowerment books. I like to teach, and I also do workshops and things like that for people's empowerment. I only work nowadays with light workers who are separate, different to light beings, because light being can come here to have a broad range of experiences, both as victim and aggressor of light-dark experiences. But a light worker only works to be light, become light, embody light, and create a world that is light. In other words, a world that doesn't have wars, torture, violations, murder, oppression, enslavement. A world that doesn't have all those things.
Got it.
Yeah. So that would be my short intro, I think.
Okay. I'm sure we can expand on that in the second hour.
Yes. And I am, of course, talking from the singular perspective.
Indeed.
Yes.
Because the who you are isn't that anyway, but whatever.
Well, you just invalidated everything I said.
Yeah.
Why?
pretty much. Because it's like a facade. I don't know why you're teasing everyone
What do you
here.
mean, facade?
It's a facade.
So are you a facade?
Aren't we all?
Yes.
Second hour.
So why are you invalidating my facade? And you're okay to have yours.
Hey, mine is from the reference point of chickens, okay? It's not too hard. They don't have a lot of complexity involved.
Okay. See, I knew you wanted to say the about Inelia Benz yourself. What would you add to it, honey?
There's this minor little wee part in there, but the wee part, go to the wee talks. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go check out the wee talks. Then you'll find out who she really is.
Well, not really, but also.
In addition.
Yeah.
Well, that's a big mystery, but just untangle the mystery. Go to the wee talks. Just type the wee talks at Substack.
Yeah.
And then go listen and go look. That would be something we will address in the second hour, apparently.
Okay.
Okay, so that's, a short bit about herself.
Yeah. Okay, I have another question for you.
Okay, shoot.
What was your most favorite, most impactful book of all time?
Well, the story with that book has to do with the story of Ascension 101.
Uh-huh.
Because as I took the Ascension 101 class, there was a goal-setting exercise of some kind. I think it was that. Because my memory is a little bit fuzzy, because that was a pretty impactful thing.
Well,
but at some point, there was this thing where you mentioned a state of oneness.
I think it was the last exercise, which is the Journey to Oneness exercise.
Okay, well, there was something about oneness.
Yeah.
And at that time, I never even heard the word oneness as a anything. It's like, oneness? What the heck is oneness? So I typed oneness into, like, I'm pretty sure it was Google at the time.
Yeah.
Back when Google had the thing that says, do no evil or something like that.
Right. When they were good guys. Before they turned evil. Before they were possessed by demons.
Or whatever we'll call them.
Yes.
So I typed in oneness, and believe it or not, there's a book called Oneness.
Journey
like,
to Oneness. Yeah.
no, it was
it's a
called
oneness.
Oneness,
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I'll just do my research. I bought that book called Oneness, and I
Yes, you
read
did.
through it. And that book, it was interesting. It gave me a feeling for what oneness
Could be.
could
mean.
mean.
Yeah.
Like, here's a potential, here's a possibility, here's some things.
Yes.
It was a nice book. I liked it. It was rather short, rather impactful in the data sense. It's like, I'm going to look up cryogenics. What the heck's cryogenics?
Cryogenics?
Yeah.
You're going to look up cryogenics?
If I were to want to look up cryogenics,
What
I
is
would type in
cryogenics?
cryogenics, and then I would get like, oh, that's what it's about. Maybe I'd just skip to the
Okay.
Wikipedia page, or I would get a book on cryogenics
What's
and learn
cryogenics?
about things like cryogenics is the study of the behavior of materials and other items as they approach absolute zero
Oh my goodness.
degrees. So you get like supermagnets and zero resistance in wires, and
Why does it not surprise me that you
liquids
know
fall.
this?
liquids fall through containers that holding these liquids. When it gets to that temperature, they just fall out of the temp because everything stops moving, and then there's no container anymore, and the stuff in it is not separate, so it just falls out.
Okay.
So the study of those kind of things. Anyway, that's what I would do. So oneness was similarly, I did the book and I checked it out and I read it, and it was an interesting book,
Yes.
but it was no more or less interesting than cryogenics or another book. But then I got another book by the same author called A Journey to Oneness.
Yeah, and the author is called Rasha.
Yeah, Rasha.
And that's, yeah.
That book did have an impact on my life. At the time, Inelia instructed us as awakening, expanding awareness individuals to collect 4 or 5 teachers to, not depend on any one teacher or
Yes.
anyone's school or lineage to help
Get a broader perspective
get a
of
broader
the same
perspective. Yeah.
topics, but in different viewpoints.
Right. And so I did an epically bad job of I picked 4 out of the 5 extras that were, I would say, quite questionable at best.
They were very bad.
They were just not the best ones.
They
I
were
mean,
not.
I had enjoyable times and interesting experiences. May your life be boring, is that what the Chinese proverb is? May you have an interesting life isn't such a great thing. Something like that. So yeah, they were not uninteresting. They were wild. Okay, they were just wild.
Yeah.
I did find one Rasha though in that oneness and Journey to Oneness. And on the video you can see here my well-eared copy of this book.
Yes.
It generally looks like one that you might have packed around the world many, many times.
Which you did.
And I also, put my little creases over the pages. I was like, oh, that one I got to remember. That one I got to remember. That one I got to remember.
This part in particular.
Dog-eared
the
and
markings.
marks in it, and the binding's
The
broken.
binding's broken.
So that one had a huge impact on my experience.
Yes.
Of awakening and expansion of awareness. And the aspect of the book that I found fascinating, the most fascinating, was that as I was experiencing the expansions of awarenesses with the other teachers and with you as well, that the Journey to Oneness book would illustrate exactly the experience I was going through, either
At the
before
time.
or after it happened. So if I read a passage in the book, and I could usually, it's like, open this book and I can't wait to read it, I could only get 3 pages on. And 3 pages in, there's something big happening.
Yeah.
And then within a day or two,
That would happen.
that
in
would
your
happen
life.
to me.
I've heard that a lot from people who've read it, actually.
Or I could have a dramatic experience of some kind, or not dramatic, but just a
Just an
blissful or an
experience.
experience, something profound. If I open the book afterward, that's what's happening next in the book. So it was an extraordinary book for me.
When we were planning to ask this question, the book that I thought you were going to talk about was Stranger in a Strange Land.
Yeah, that was also an interesting book, but for a different reason. At the time,
How old were you?
I had just turned 18.
Oh, okay.
So I was a adult, and I had bought a car for $300, which was a hunk of junk. If you put it in gear, the back end of the car wasn't actually attached to the car because it was so rusty. So when you push the gas, the car would go, the back end would slide over to the side,
Oh my
and you have to
goodness.
turn the other way so that you could still go straight. And then you let off the gas, and then it would straighten up again. It would like fall into the hole that it goes in.
Wow.
But every time you push the gas, the axle would like come out. It was an old rusty Volvo in Alaska, so yeah, it didn't make it all the way back from town every time. The last time that it didn't make it back from town, it left me on the side of the road when it was raining. I didn't know it, but if you're driving your car and you have your lights on and your wipers on and the wipers start going slower,
Your battery's dying?
yeah, and your lights get orange, that means your battery's dying because your alternator broke.
Oh, okay.
And that also means that within a very short amount of time, your car's going to stop working.
Oh, no.
Unless it's a diesel, in which case it doesn't need a battery to run. But in this case, it was a gas. So the spark stopped sparking and it stranded me on the highway in the middle of the night, in the middle of the rain. So I hitchhiked home and I figured I'll come get it the next day. And when I came back the next day, guess what?
Car was gone.
It was gone. It's like, what the heck happened to the car? Why would anybody steal that? And how the hell are you going to steal it? The battery was dead. It's like, oh, well, that was a cheap car and it was broke anyway. And then I left and I went to California to go see, why is it everybody lives in California? That must be a great place. I should go down there and look.
Yeah. I thought it was you chasing a skirt down there.
Yeah, I was chasing a skirt too. But whatever.
Whatever. I'll put him in the hot spot.
Pretty sure.
Hot seat, hot seat.
It's been a long time. We don't know exactly which time I went to Cali. I went to Cali a lot of times trying to figure that out. I never did figure it out, by the way, but this time when I got home, I went to my dad's house and I was in the house. I don't know how the hell they knew, but somehow a cop come and knocked on the door. I opened the door, there's a cop there, and I was like, what? Hello? Are you Larry Bazell? Yes, yes. I have a warrant for your arrest. You have a warrant for my arrest for whatever for? It's like, what have I done? You abandoned it's a warrant for failure to appear to a summons, and I never got no summons.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently what happened was when my car died, the police towed it away. And if they sent me a notification, it must have went to my dad, who maybe didn't read it or didn't tell me or who knows what, but I never saw no notice.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't go to impound lot or anywhere to go find it because I didn't know where it was. I had no idea what happened to it. It's just gone.
Mm-hmm.
And since I didn't appear and I didn't argue with, hey, what's going on, they said that I abandoned it. And the abandonment for a vehicle on the side of the road costs you $100 ticket or something,
Okay.
which I hadn't paid.
Mm-hmm.
So now I had a warrant for not appearing and not paying no $100.
Mm-hmm.
But he said it's okay though. If you could just pay $100, you don't have to go to jail. Mm-hmm. And I happen to be lacking any dollars.
That's why you were back at your dad's, right?
So I have them at my dad's. It's like, I don't have $100. He said, well, you're going to jail then. It's like, shit. Hey, Dad, can I borrow $100? Yeah, that answer was no. It's like, really? Come on now. So up to jail I went.
Consequences, huh?
Well, that's not.
Tough love.
I don't know what. I would definitely loan my kid $100 for that. You don't need to go to jail to learn not to go to jail. It's you're not a jail type person.
Right.
But for me, I got to go to jail. So as happens in my life, often as not, even things that might generally be considered to be terrible, somehow don't turn out to be quite so terrible as I feared or worried or whatever's. So
how many days did you have to stay in jail?
I went there in the evening before I had dinner. When I got to jail, he said, sorry, it's after dinner, so you don't get no food. I was like, great. That's terrible. No dinner. I heard the food there was terrible anyway, so it's like, I guess that's no great loss. I got some cigarettes because I smoked at the time, and I had to buy one pack. I only had money for one pack. I had to guess, what kind of cigarettes do you buy if you're going to go to jail? And they let you smoke in jail here, so that they last the longest. You don't buy the ones that you like. You buy the ones that have like all the tobacco in it. And I got the Grandma Killer Hundreds. Pall Malls. They're just all tobacco all the way through. I figured, who knows how many of these I'm going to need. And maybe I got to trade for a blanket. I don't know how it works here. It's like most tobacco possible for the least amount of dollars. Yeah. And it ended up being a big room with like 15 people or 15 bunks and maybe 10, 8, 9, 10. I don't know how many people, not very many. And I got a bunk and there was a pile of books and I grabbed the thickest book I could find. It was by an author I never heard of, Robert Heinlein. Stranger in a Strange Land, I think was the name of it. So I had spent the most of my life reading books, literally entire libraries, and I hadn't encountered Robert Heinlein's books before. So
was like
I opened up the
gem.
first page and I was like, how could I have not found this?
Yeah.
So I spent the next, which was basic, I think,
Overnight.
probably 8 night, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We went to court. So what's that, 12 hours? Just reading that book. And smoking those giant grandma killers, which were not that great. Honestly, they're kind of hard on your throat and everything.
Oh my god.
And enjoying the shit out of that book. Then I went to court, and the judge saw me, and he said, "What happened?" And I explained, and he said, "All right, time served. That'll be your $100. Apparently, you get $100 credit for spending the night in jail."
Hmm.
And he let me go, but I had to go back to jail to let go. I was like,
Oh.
that doesn't make any sense. If I'm done, can't I just get
Did
done
you steal
here?
the book?
Oh, I'm pretty sure I finished it.
Oh, okay.
It was like 800 pages, but I had
8 hours, so
plenty of time to read it.
yeah, plenty of time.
So I read it. And, you know, when I went back to jail, we left for court before they served breakfast, and we got back after breakfast was already served. So I didn't
No
get
breakfast.
exposed to jail food, which probably is a
boy.
good thing.
Yes.
Either way, you know, it wasn't the worst experience I had. And I really enjoyed the rest of his books, too.
Yeah. All right, cool.
All right, how about you, honey? Your favorite,
Oh,
most
my
impactful book?
Okay. Well, I've been thinking about this, you know, and unfortunately, I don't remember the name of the book. However, it was a compilation of science fiction stories from a magazine called Science Fiction Magazine. This was in the late 60s. So I was like
One?
three,
Two?
three, yeah,
3
two
years
or
old?
three, yeah, 2 or 3 years old.
I didn't even know science fiction or books even existed when I was 2 or 3 years old.
Well, I lived with a family of intellectuals and professors, and we literally had a room that was a library. One of the rooms in my house was a library, which also doubled as my brother's room. It would have been your perfect room, huh?
Totally.
And it was like ceiling to floor bookshelves filled with books. And a whole, I would say a large section of a wall was dedicated to science fiction and fantasy books because both my parents loved those genres. They loved it. And I remember that book because my brother was really into it, right? He was he would carry it around a little bit like your book. And I looked at him and I said, you know, what, can you read me part of that book? Because I didn't know how to read. I was too little. And he said, nope. You need to learn to read. Get your own reading books and read your own books.
Jeez.
So I was like, that's not fair. So I actually walked around trying to look for an adult to read me this book. And I found one, I can't remember who it was. I found an adult who would literally sit down and read me this book. And I was blown away by this book. I was really small, but I had awareness, like Larry mentioned the we earlier, right? I had awareness that was different to other people's awareness. I could see things that other people couldn't see. And I detected the main author of this book was Isaac Asimov. And there was another one, I can't remember his name, but he wrote Fahrenheit
451.
Yeah, what was that guy's name?
I don't know, but we know the name of that book. I didn't read that one, but I've heard of it.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's a super famous one, I still didn't read it.
Yeah, that author, and he had 2 or 3 of his short, because these were compilations of short stories, this book. And all the short stories have been published by Science Fiction Magazine, right? Anyways, I started reading that book, well, not reading it myself, but this person was reading this book to me, and I noticed that there was a lot of things that, to me, were not science fiction, but were actually seen.
Presented as science fiction.
Presented as science fiction, yeah, but were actually real. And to me also, they broadened, like they had more awareness of reality. So you might even call them philosophers. I didn't know any of those words at the time, but I could just perceive and see and feel and understand. And to my delight, I found out that there were many of those compilations. Some of them were just Isaac Asimov, and some of them were just of some of these other authors. And I was fascinated by them. And I read them over and over. And I remember like several years later, so I must have been, I don't know, 5 or 6. And I knew how to read now. So I didn't need anybody to read me these books. And I found a book, one of the authors, one of the short stories, or it could have been a novel. I can't remember by then, but you can imagine a 5-year-old reading novels, you know, like not very usual. I also had my favorite, you know, little book with all the pictures in it. I think it was a little bit of a little donkey, and donkey. You like donkeys too?
Mm-hmm.
And it had a song and everything. So I like that too. It wasn't like I was, you know, overly just complicated science fiction books. I had my little, that was actually the first book I read myself, the little donkey book. And it was given to me by the preschool teacher, and she gave one to all the children as a prize for learning how to read.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
That's
that was
nice.
that was like your dogs and your dog ears book, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
marked and
That
everything,
one you
and
packed
carried it
around.
wherever, packed around forever. It was about a little donkey. But anyway, so that was also my favorite book. But the ones that had most impact, and the one or the story that had the most impact, was a story where there was 2 of them. One of them was where this man would wake up every morning and he would have dirt under his nails. But he was like an accountant or something. And he would go to the office every day, and he was very, very neat and clean and tidy. And every night he would look at his nails that were like clean, and then he'd fall asleep. And the next morning he'd wake up and his nails were dirty, right? He had black stuff
Like what
all
has
over.
been happening?
Yeah. Anyways, the story goes that he had 2 personalities. One was awake and was asleep. And to me, that just blew my mind, right? And I
Right.
remember as a little kid, I would check my nails over,
See what's going on.
see what's going on. It was so much fun. And then the other one, and this one was really fascinating to me. It was a man who figured out that most of the people on Earth were NPCs, non-player characters, but they didn't call them those at the time, right? This was like 60s, right? And he figured out that most of them were not people, and I think he may have been the only person actually.
And everybody
and-
else was like supporting characters from his
Yes,
experience.
yeah. And then I remember he driving like as fast as he could down this road, and eventually the reality ends because that was the limit of the whatever's, right? The Matrix. So I think it was probably the first Matrix story that was ever written. And I just can't remember the name of this book or the author. It wasn't Asimov, it was one of the other ones. And I read that book and I was like, again, blown away because I could see that people were doing that. I could see reality being created day to day by people and how they would all see it differently. And I knew they saw it differently because I could see through their eyes. I literally could see like the experiential telepathy, what they were experiencing. And it was so radically different from person to person. Reality was different. And I go up to my dad and I said, Dad, look, this guy. And I explained the story. I mean, he looks at me smiling because he's read these books. You know, they were all his books. And he looks at me and he smiles and he says, that's right. You figured it out. He said, you are a figment of my imagination. I am the only human on Earth. And I look at him and I consider that. I consider it. And I tap into it, and like I would call nowadays, follow the energy lines, right? And I look at him and said, no, you're not. You're not, Dad.
Sorry.
I think you may be mine. Yes, did pop open a little bit before he laughed.
Oh no.
And he said,
That's
nah.
hilarious.
He said, no, that's not real. Like, that's just a story. It's not real. And I'm like, okay, then. He doesn't see what I see. But it was like, yeah, there's a lot of people who have their own story, but they are the center of their universe and they create the universe around them, which is something then that I could see, right, as a little kid. So that was very impactful for me at the time. It was like, blew my mind that other people could see things very similarly. So, yeah, those were those books.
Excellent. Well, maybe in the after we will Google Asimov's books and maybe come up with the titles for some of these.
Yeah, some of the other authors as well. Yeah. All right.
Movie time.
Movie time. What would you say was your most impactful or favorite movie of all times?
Well,
I know which one it is, so
you don't.
just say it.
You
Just
don't.
say it. Say it.
Top Gun.
Yes.
That's why I joined the Navy, to be a pilot. That's why I'm an Air Force pilot.
That was extremely impactful. Yes.
Yes, that was like the best movie I had ever seen in my entire life.
Wow. And you saw it how many times? Dozens and dozens and dozens.
1,000, I think. We had it on
Yeah.
our cruise ship too, so I played it every morning on the cruise ship also. So yeah, and it wasn't like actually impactful on my life. I didn't actually join the Navy and learn how to be a fighter pilot. I did go to the beach and play volleyball once, but I left my shirt on. I wanted to get a motorcycle that I could go 90 miles an hour down the runway with it, but one of our crewmen got one instead, and it was only lasted a week, and his head was off of him
His
and
shoulders.
on the side of the road with his helmet on.
Oh my god.
So I
That
canceled.
dissuaded you? Yeah.
Dissuaded me from that whole idea also, and
You did join the...
I ended up joining the Coast Guard
Yeah, you did.
because I didn't actually want to, get shot down and die in a parachute from a fighter jet either. All these, the movie was great, but I didn't really want all those experiences. And in the Coast Guard, I figured, probably not too many fighter jets I'm going to be bailing out of, and maybe not even any airplanes. Turns out they have
I
helicopters.
have a question for you. When I met you before you had eye surgery, you were practically blind.
Yes.
So how did you get into the Coast Guard even though you were practically blind?
Well, apparently they gave an eye test, but if you go through the eye test place in Los Angeles, there are so many people they don't look at you that close, and I have my contacts in, which you're not supposed to have in.
Right.
And an actual eye investigation, right? They would probably check. So, yeah, that helped. Plus, I listened to the guy right in front of me, so I knew what letters were coming. Just remembered.
Oh my gosh.
Like, if you say those letters, that's the test, so it's easy enough. Yeah, that
Oh
was
my
kind of funny. I had my contacts in boot camp too, which you're also not supposed to have.
Oh my
Because
gosh.
who's going to wear those glasses? Give me a break.
Right.
Anyway, they didn't work. They're the wrong, everything.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, boot camp taught me a very good lessons on invisibility. And being there, but not being there. It's like, you can't see me, you see me, you can't see Jedi mind tricks, I
Yes.
guess.
Yeah. Jedi mind tricks.
It was uncanny.
So
They
you
were
mentioned
so-
Jedi mind tricks, which
Yeah.
comes from a different movie.
Right, I'd liked Star Wars wasn't as impactful on me. We went to it and then blah, and it was at the drive-in, and I mean, it was just okay.
Did you try to develop the Force or tap into the Force?
Not at
No?
all, no.
No?
It wasn't
Okay.
that impactful. The only other one that I had, that's the best movie I've ever seen was Avatar. That was the next best one.
Oh, yeah.
But I didn't, because it at the time Avatar, was out. I had become aware enough to realize through a lot of your teachings, about the nature of the human body, human being.
Yeah.
And so the concept of Avatar had basis on actual, truth. Enough so that I was like, wow, that could be a lot more accurate than
It
most
pretends
people
to
might
be.
think about.
Yeah.
So that one, I loved that. Plus the movie, how the forest, when he walked through the forest.
Oh, the lights.
The lights,
coming up.
everything
Yeah.
started to light up, and the world
Yeah.
became a completely different magical place just
Yes.
because changed the perception and his fear. He went from a fear state to a wonder state,
Yeah.
and in the wonder, it was just amazing.
Yeah, it was.
And I had that
Beautiful.
same experience in Kauai.
Kawaii.
Kauai, in the largest tide pool I ever found in my whole life. That was the warmest, like a bathtub. And when you walked in it or swam in it,
The
you're
lights
at,
went on.
it was like just like the Avatar movie. Your feet would go down, and then it would light up just like that. If you jumped in the water, there'd be lights that would like all over your body going down. And it was just the most amazing.
What
Avatar
caused the
movie.
lights in the water?
Phytoplanktons and diatoms, whatever. It was
That
like a
reacted to your
like a
body heat or something?
plankton bloom, and if you disturb them, they blink.
Oh my
And there's
goodness.
billions of them, so they're all blinking all things. And then
Wow.
all of a sudden, everything is like bright blue photobioluminescence. Sometimes if you're on a ship at night or a boat at night, you're going through these blooms, you'll see the colors come up on them, on the boat in the back or in your stabilizers. So I have seen it other places, but not in a nice warm tide pool that's deep enough for you to jump and swim in, and just sand. And you can imagine warm, beautiful Hawaii at the night is just, it's just a whole nother world, like Avatar. It was
How
like,
come you're not living there?
Gaia said I can visit, but I can't live there.
Do you understand why now?
Nope. I guess
Would you
because
move
you
there?
can't.
Would you move there now? Leave everything, sell everything.
Nope.
How come?
I think it's something to do with the land here and our connection to it. Yeah. There would be not as supportive as here, but it's fine to visit, but not to live. And that's a funny thing, because every now and then I get in the back of my head, not that I want to move there, I get in the back of my head, if you have to pick any environment to live in, you should pick the most favorable environment, like warm and sandy with beautiful sunny water and fresh tropical fruits all the time. That seems like a supportive place, right? Other people will probably look at that and say, no, the most supportive place is it's dry and it's sandy and we have hot peppers and I don't know, like desert. Desert is supportive of their body. Or no, where it's icy and there's whales and seals and all those things eating all that food, and it's always cold, and there's, whatevs, northern latitude people. Or
Always raining.
anywhere, right? Where it's jungle and it's always raining. But for some reason, that environment, it pleases my body, but this environment is more supportive. Don't know. What do you think?
Okay. Yep. So that was the movies.
How did we get to where you live from a movie?
I think you need to ask me my movie first.
I know. What a movie.
What?
What movie, honey?
What movie?
What movie? It just says movie. Tell me about your favorite movie or the most impactful one.
So, I guess there'll be different levels of impact. Some of them positive, some of them negative.
Ooh, I never considered the negative impact.
I would say that when I was a little kid, the negatively impactful movie was Bambi. My parents took me to the cinema, and did you know that Bambi's mommy dies? Anyways,
On
I was tiny.
at some level,
Bambi's mommy's dies, and I start crying so hard. My mommy had to take me out of the cinema, and we couldn't go back.
So that part of the movie I think is the worst part of the movie, and if you didn't see the rest of it, probably not gonna watch it.
My most favorite movie that I can watch over and over again is a movie called Practical Magic.
Okay, yes, we watched that one many times together.
And it's about two sisters who are from a lineage of witches. And they're going from a small town. And there's a curse on their family that any man that loves them and they love, is going to die. Anyways, the movie goes through their rejection of their lineage and what consequences happen if you reject your lineage, which are very negative. And then messing about with mystical items and very little knowledge, and the consequences of missing messing about with magic and mysticism without a proper education.
Which
It's
is
very, very bad.
important. Like even this morning, we had an experience with an individual who's a light person, light worker, like everything, the happiest in the world, and he had an idea to bring about a compulsion to
Yes.
bring about a result or a consequence that he thought would be the most favorable for us, right?
It was black magic.
But it's black magic because
You do not force other people
you don't
to
force
do
other
something
people's decisions or
Exactly.
decide for them the decision that's best
for you.
for them, that is
Like for
the one
them.
that's best for
Yeah.
you. So they got to do what it is that's best for you. That's their best choice.
Yeah.
No, that's
No. That's black magic. You don't
Yeah.
want to do that.
you let's tend to avoid doing that.
Yeah.
So
So anyways,
that's
it has
similar.
all these things. Yeah.
It's similar.
And also the sisters reminded me of me and my sister. They're like, they're not, I mean, we're not Australian or American, right? But their personalities were like kind of similar, you know? I was studious and homebody, and my sister was wild and, went off with bad men and all sorts of things.
Also known as the best guys.
Yeah, no,
The
not
best
really.
guys are the bad
No,
guys.
no.
Well, that's
For
what I
her.
thought. For her, yeah.
But eventually she ended up with a really nice guy, yeah. She actually settled down and fell in love and with a real guy that she actually saw in an image when she was little. She saw this image of this guy when she was little, and she even bought a poster that reflected that image, and she would talk about this image, right? But in between finding that guy, which was her perfect man, and seeing him and finding him, they were like decades, right? About 3 decades.
Oh man, that's a long time.
Yeah, or 2 decades maybe. And so yeah, that's when she messed up and she
All the
got
wrong
married.
guys.
All the wrong guys, yeah. Yeah. So
So it's possible to go through the wrong guys and then you end up with a good guy.
Yeah.
The right guy.
yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good to know.
It's something I did too, right?
Yes, I'm fully aware of it.
But it wasn't looking for bad guys. It was just ignorance, in my viewpoint.
It
I
could
thought
be
it was
that you
normal.
got unconsciously trained by your sister to pick bad guys.
No, it wasn't like that. It was more to do with both of us, I think, probably, because we came from abused backgrounds, that we thought that was normal, right? That people who love you hurt you, that thing. That's how they show love, right?
Mm.
I'm not going to psychoanalyze it, but we ended up with very bad people. And my brother did too.
Oh dear.
So, but eventually, we all ended up okay. So the movie,
So that
yeah,
was Practical
Practical
Magic.
Magic.
Is there
and that's
another one? Say more recent.
More recent movie?
We watched a lot of movies. We went to a few that weren't that great. Nothing super impactful.
No, not really. I would say Practical Magic with Trump.
That's just your all-time
Yes.
go-to.
Yeah, that would be it. Yeah.
Yeah, I see you as a practical. We tried to build a practical magic house, remember?
We did.
Well, we haven't stopped.
Yeah.
We just
Ileana,
haven't.
which is one of our panelists and an architect,
Yes.
she actually did a design.
Architectural
the
drawing
drawings.
for us.
We have it all ready.
All of the pages and everything.
Everything. We have the whole thing designed and ready to go, but to build it was like $1 million.
So now I'm taking marketing classes on how to market our most excellent books so we can get the $1
Yes.
million so that we can then
Yes.
build the practical magic house on our
Yeah.
property.
Yes.
Okay, that's a good goal.
All right. Honey,
And furnish it.
where
And
were you
paint it.
born?
What?
Where were
I'm
you
still
born?
stuck on the practical magic house. Sorry. I'm just thinking how nice and cool that's going to be.
It's fabulous. Although, this house, our hill house, is pretty magical.
It's pretty magical.
Pretty magical. It has a life. She has a personality. And she
She's a
grows and
sprawler.
expands
We'll
and
call it a
grows
sprawler.
up and sideways.
Up and sideways and connected and over there
connected
too.
and it's magical. I mean, you get in and you go, wait. So I think it's our own practical magic home. But yeah, I mean, we have no windows where there should be windows right here.
Yes, this is our practical magic sunroom,
Yes.
but
It's
missing
not
the
quite-
windows. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on.
Okay.
Henny,
What?
where were you born and where did you grow up?
Well, I was born in a place called, it says on my birth certificate, Monroe, but I
Monroe.
have no idea what that is.
You don't know what that is?
It's a place in Washington, but that's all I know of it.
Oh,
It's like,
Washington? Okay.
yeah, I don't even know if I were to say, hey, point on the map where it's Monroe. I would say, not really sure.
We did drive past it a couple of times
Yeah,
and say, hey, yeah, that's where I was born.
But it has zero significance to me in that
Yeah,
way. It's like,
yeah.
I don't even know where it is.
Uh-huh.
I have an idea it's like this end of Washington and maybe over by Seattle, but
Maybe.
it's not in like eastern Washington where it's hot, I don't think.
Okay.
And I grew up in a place called Index. It's another one of those places that the literal only thing I know about that place is that my mom told me when you fill up the bathtub, the water was sparkling blue, which is a
Sparkling.
testament to its artesian, natural, clean, comes out of the water quality. It just has really nice, really excellent water there, which is kind of what happened here at the Hill House after we jumped through a lot of hoops and made our water go sit in a tank and clean out the iron out of it and then sit in another tank and then mature for a little while and then go through some crystals and hit the spiral maker and then go through a bunch of big filters to clean out whatever to make it that thing and then go to our hot water tank and then go to the tub. Then it came out blue. But that was only until the little pump thing stopped working. Then it came out brown again. It's like, oh, something must be broken. Go out there. We've been working on this. Let's have some pretty blue water in our tub for quite a while now, haven't we?
Yes, yeah.
So that's all I know about Index is the water's blue in your tub. And I think that's a quality to strive for in your bathtub water.
Okay. Got it.
But I grew up in Alaska. I grew up in a lot of places.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up in Kalama, Washington, which I do know where it is. We went there.
Yeah.
On a fish hatchery
Yeah.
where I almost drowned. Because they had these 20-foot deep cement tanks that go down into the ground.
With no ladders?
Well, there's not only no ladders. They're only this far up over the ground. It's like a parking curb.
Oh my gosh.
And then if you walk there and trip, you go 20 feet down into the water and it's cement walls all the way up.
How did you get out of it?
I don't know.
You don't remember?
And there was a bunch of people around that must have grabbed me out.
Uh-huh.
I rode my bike once and I turned the corner a little too sharp and my bike fell over on the corner.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, if my bike fell, I fell.
Uh-huh.
And luckily my bike didn't fall and I was hanging onto my bike. And I managed to get out off of my bike.
Wow.
So the other time we were in there swimming with everybody and you go on these beginner tubes and you rock them underwater.
Uh-huh.
And I was on the one of them. I was like, I don't know how to swim. Don't rock them too hard. They rocked me too hard. I flopped off. I mean, up into the air,
Oh,
blunk
God.
to the bottom. And I remember looking at the bottom, looking up, going, how the hell do you get up there?
How did you get up there?
I didn't.
You didn't?
I died. I don't live. I'm not alive. I'm just a figment now.
Oh no.
Or it could be somebody dove down and grabbed me. One of the two. I just don't know.
Did you ever learn to swim?
I did learn to swim. Yeah, I learned to swim.
In the Coast Guard? Or before that?
Had to have been before that. Maybe. I
School?
don't recall where.
Alaska?
I don't recall where. I did learn how to swim, and I'm actually quite good at swimming.
Mm.
When I did Coast Guard boot camp, one of the things we have to do is jump in a swimming pool and not die, which I turned out I'm pretty good at.
Yeah, that's good.
I didn't have any problem not dying after those
Oh, my
couple of
goodness.
times, right?
Yeah.
They even have you learn how to take your pants off in the water, tie the ends of your legs together, plop them full of air, and then stick it over your neck, and now you got a life jacket.
Wow.
Yeah, so double ways not to drown. So I grew up at the fish hatchery and didn't die. And then we moved to a farm in a place called Toledo with cows, but we weren't like
Cow farmers?
cow farmers or dairy farmers or field farmers or nothing farmers, but my dad grew a lot of vegetables. So apparently we had free rent if we stayed in the house and let somebody know if something happened to the cows.
Okay.
I guess. I'm not quite sure, but that place also had a river and a nice big giant backyard and a road and a million blackberry bushes. It was like pretty idyllic. Plus all of the food that we ate, it was all from that garden, which when you're 7, 6. You prefer McDonald's if they had? I mean, my dad had McDonald's wrappers in his car under
So
the
he liked
seat.
it.
You could find them every now. I was like, what's going on here?
That must be really good.
That's the stuff. We don't have any of this in the garden. Damn it. But we, you know, I guess it was good for our health to start out like that with really good, nutritious, living food from a living garden with living dirt, with worms and manure and all the stuff you're supposed to have.
Yeah. Probably.
I don't understand the one thing about that is my brother and I both grew up there, and his life is enormously different, health-wise and everything-wise.
Yeah.
And we had the same
Grow up.
food.
Yeah.
So
Weird.
maybe that doesn't really, it isn't really the end-all be-all. But I suppose it's something. Then we moved to, let's have a divorce and break up everybody and like toss it in the air and see what happens. And have loggers, drunk loggers shooting guns into fireplaces in the middle of the woods in the middle of the night where the bullets ricochet out and almost kill you. Let's have some of those experiences for a little while and say, actually, how about you go live with your dad, kids? So we moved up to Alaska to get away from drunk loggers shooting into the fires in the middle of the night,
Oh my gosh.
driving down back roads, drunk on whiskey and grabbing the steering wheel to try and make you crash into the car next door, you know, when you're passing.
Because it's such a great idea.
'Cause that's exciting.
Yeah.
You have your mom drive because she ain't drunk. But have a whiskey drunk next to her, grabbing
Wasn't
the
she
steering wheel
drunk?
every
I thought
time.
She was drunk. She said
No, she
was.
wasn't. Well, she might have been drunk also. I don't know. Didn't notice.
She told me she was a drunk at the time.
I know she drank, but I didn't know that she was the drunk driver. I think she was the sober driver of the two. And he would
Oh, boy.
grab the steering
You
wheel
would
everywhere
think-
we went. It
You would
was
think
ridiculous.
that having had that experience, you wouldn't have started drinking alcohol, huh? But that didn't happen.
No, that didn't happen. I went to the Coast Guard and they rebirthed me in boot camp. And in my rebirthing, they added alcohol
Yeah.
because apparently you need that if you're going to be military. Because you work hard, you play hard. Oh, something shit like that. I don't remember. But whenever we tied up our Coast Guard ship, there had to be a big beach cooler full of beer, or we were at a giant beer festival. It's like
So
Anyway.
back to where you grew up,
Alaska.
Alaska.
That was
Tell me
where
about
I
Alaska.
grew up in my formative years, like junior high school, high school.
Okay. How
When I was
how
in
old
Capital
for
City
Europeans? How old would you be in middle school and?
Well, I don't know. 6th grade is the
Yeah.
last grade I did not in Alaska. So 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th,
Yes, but
11th,
what is?
12th.
How old were you at 6th grade?
So that's 18 or 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12. So about 12.
12. Okay. From 12 until 18, you lived in Alaska.
Yeah, 12 till 19.
19. Okay.
I lived and grew up in Juneau, Alaska. It was
Okay.
also idyllic. It was idyllic like the other two places. My dad's pretty good at picking idyllic location.
Nice.
Right. And that one was idyllic in all the ways that you could grow up in, you know. You had a bike path that went all the way from one end of where you lived to all the way into the city. So it's like 20 miles of bike path.
Wow.
It's its own road with its own like little stop signs and all that. Way long time ago before there was such a thing.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, and I was a bike fanatic, so it was like perfect for me.
Nice.
The only thing that sucked about bike paths and bicycles was when I
Bears?
got old enough to get a car.
Oh,
Because,
then you didn't go back, huh?
yeah, so I've been like happy and sad about cars in my life because I really do like cars too.
Yeah.
But they take over from bikes.
They do. Yeah.
And
Where did you go to high school?
In Alaska, Juneau Douglas High School. I was a gymnast, which was fun because it wasn't like a competitive, like basketball, football, baseball, was kind of aggressive. It
Yeah.
also had its competitiveness, but it's on your own individual performance.
Right.
So
Right.
that was okay. I wasn't really competitive. I mean, I was top 3 in Alaska, but there was only 3 of us. So. I don't know if that counts for a lot. Counts for something, probably.
Well, I've seen you on your ships going from like
Yes, I have those gymnastic skills and ability and the balance and all of that. But I didn't have, my arms won't go back. See my hand?
your hands, yes.
It won't go back. So if you try and do a handstand like that, guess what happens?
You fall over?
You fall, you never get up.
Oh.
And, you know, that was my downfall. You got to be able to do a handstand for God's sakes.
It's like that.
Yeah, it doesn't go 90 degrees.
Yeah, 90 degrees. It needs to go 90 degrees.
It was for probably a good reason, so I didn't get too distracted with gymnastics. You know.
Possibly, yeah.
Anyway,
Keep you fit.
it kept
on
me
your
fit,
bikes.
kept me in good shape, and I enjoyed it. It used up a lot of the hours after school that when I stopped doing gymnastics and I found a girl instead, turned out I should have been doing gymnastics.
Oh, no.
Yes. She wasn't the best. I guess she
Distraction.
would be a bad girl.
Oh, you like the bad girls, huh?
Oh, there was only one girl who liked me. That was the bad girl, so that was the only girl I liked.
I guess she liked you.
Yes, that was all the quality I was correct. There's a girl that likes you. Okay, good enough.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, but she was very bad.
Oh, no.
She was alternative high school, and back when that meant, I mean, you had to work hard to get into alternative high school back then. She didn't want to go to school, so they put her in a school where you don't have to go to school, which didn't make any sense to me. But okay, that's the school you're going to. What that consequently meant was the classes I was taking where you actually have to pay attention. Instead, I would rather hang out with her where she didn't have to go to school, so we would go to the stairs and look at the water and smoke clove cigarettes and drink espresso, what they call them, what, cafe au lait. Very sophisticated, of course.
So you're being sophisticated.
So I was being sophisticated, smoking clove cigarettes and drinking cafe au lait. Yeah. That was much better than calculus. So I went from straight A's to, I think, straight.
These?
I managed to squeak D's out, except for a couple classes. And at graduation time, I kind of had even lost enough interest in the whole process that I didn't even really pay attention to the graduation part. And they said, it's like, you know you're not going to graduate, right? I'm like, what do you mean I'm not going to graduate? I got straight A's my whole life. Yeah, well, not the last 2 quarters you haven't.
Oh,
So
no.
I had to do some quick
Catching up.
makeup of something or other, and then they gave me enough so I could actually graduate.
Wow.
I was like,
That's
how's
quick.
that happen? Boy, that's quick.
Yeah.
I think it's, I skipped so much school, I forgot my locker combination. That's really bad. It's only
I'm
3
just laughing
numbers.
because that happened to me too.
It's like I'm really scared. It's like I have to clean out my locker. Where the fuck is it?
Remember where it was.
I didn't know where it was either. I was like, shit, which one is it? And what's the combo? I don't
Yeah, I had to
fucking
go to
know.
the secretary's office and find out. It's like so
Yeah, I did the
bad.
same. So yeah, we're not too far apart there. It's like, that's bad. So that, yeah.
Okay, now you have to ask me where I was born.
Okay, where were you born? I mean,
Where you grew up.
where did you grow up and where were you born?
I was born in Valparaíso, Chile. Actually, I think I was born.
Is that the place where they have all the different colored houses in the city?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
quite vividly
Beautiful.
colored.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. And big port there. And the first 7 years I spent close by in a neighborhood that you could actually oversee on a hill. It's called Cerro Los Placeres, or Cerro Los Placeres in Spanish, Chilean accent. And from my yard, you could see the ocean in the distance. And if you really stretch, I think, if I remember right, you might have been able to see the port. And so I lived there until I was 7. Back and forth in the summers to my grandparents or my aunties and stuff like that. The countryside, my father's family home, which was about 2 or 3 hours away, something like that, maybe longer. Further inland and south. And yeah, so I was born there, and then something happened in Chile called the military coup. The right-wing military coup. They picked up my parents, who were both intellectuals, university professors, and also socialists. So they took them and tortured them, and they did very nasty things to them. Our family fell apart. We didn't have anywhere to live and no adults to live with us. So we were moved around a lot. And then as children, we had to go into hiding because this military coup people decided to start capturing children and torturing them and broadcasting that or taking that into their parents and force the parents to give information or whatever.
Oh, good
It was
way. That'll work. Torture
Yes.
your kids to
Yeah.
get you to say stuff.
Yeah. So basically, it's called a reign of terror, which is actually there's a manual out there on how to rule a country through a reign of terror.
Yeah, I have heard of that book. I think you can get it on Amazon.
Yeah, I think you can buy it on Amazon.
Maybe
Anyways.
Start a reign.
So we went to Argentina. My mom sneaks us out to Argentina at some point. My dad never joined us back after that. He was a womanizer, so he had a whole bunch of lovers and stuff, and then he decided it's much easier just to hang out with one of his lovers.
Less responsibilities.
Then trying to take care of us as we were living in the streets in Argentina. Because there was a coup in Argentina after that.
Great.
And then they made it illegal for people to employ Chilean refugees, which my mom was. So, yeah, that went really bad very
Probably should
quickly.
just leave South America entirely.
Yes, so my mom did. She left. She got 2 visas, one to the United States and one to England, the UK. And she got them both on the same day. She had to go to these embassies to get to get political refugee status. And she went to the one. She had 2 appointments that day. One in the morning was for the USA for a green card and refugee status, and they would pay for everything. And one for the UK in the afternoon. So she went to the US one. She got the green card, right? She got a green card for her and all the children, and even my dad, who wasn't there, but she was still daydreaming that he might come back. And in between the 2 appointments, she went to the cinema to watch a movie. And what was playing was One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Jack Nicholson, crazy man, psycho
Yes.
dude.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
No,
Or is that
actually,
the one where he sticks his head through the door or the shower or something.
no.
Oh,
So this movie is about
that
a
was
man.
Psycho. That's a different one.
Yeah, this movie is about a man who pretends to be mentally
Yeah.
insane, to get free food and clothes and whatever, right? But when he gets into the place, the nut house, he finds that there's all these people being kept there that are not insane, that are kept there mostly like political prisoners, right? But also other things. And then one day he says, I've had enough, I'm going to leave now, and they don't let him. And he counts.
Even though he's not crazy.
Even though, yeah, he's not crazy. And anyway, there's a breakout and all that stuff. But anyways, it's a really powerful, like, mind messed up and oppression movie of how to control the people, right? My mom is traumatized through her torture in Chile and her treatment she received in Argentina. And she thinks that North America is not much better than that, right? Look what happened to those people in the movie. She goes into a PTSD kind of state. So when she goes to the appointment in the afternoon and gets a UK passport, a UK visa and all the things, she throws the paperwork for the US in the trash and takes the UK one and takes us all to Europe.
So in a way, the most impactful movie of your life actually is that movie.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, even though I never watched it until I was an adult, and I thought, what the hell happened in that movie?
Jeez Louise.
And I didn't actually know that she actually got the green cards and everything for us until I was applying for a green card as an adult 18 years ago in the United States. And they called me in for an interview that was out of schedule. And the woman looks at me and she says, why are you applying for a green card? And I said, well, because I'd like to live here. It's like, I've got a husband and kid here. She says, but you already have one. And I'm like, what? It says, yeah, it's right here, 1974 or whatever. You had a green card since 1974.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, but I didn't apply. I was a kid. And then ding, 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 ding. I remember And I had told the story of why we'd gone to Europe instead of the US to my ex-husband at the time, who was my husband. And he looks at me and says, "Oh my God," he said, "that's what happened. Your mom, remember? One flew over the cuckoo's nest?" And I'm like, OMG. So the woman, of course, wanted to hear all about that.
That's funny.
Yeah. And she looks at me and she says, "Well, what do you think about One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest?" I don't know. I've never watched it. I've never seen it.
That's hilarious.
I know it traumatized my mom, but I've never seen it myself. So, okay. So you're not a communist. No, I'm not a communist. It's like, I don't know how it's related, but I guess, maybe in the movie it's related. And so, of course, after that, I wanted to see it. I wanted to watch it. So, yeah, very impactful. I grew up in the UK. First of all, we went to Scotland. We lived in Scotland for a year or two. Then we moved to Nottingham, where I lived a few more years. Then I moved over. I actually married at 18 and had my first baby at 19. And we moved to Ireland, where I went to college. So formative years in Ireland also. And after that, I moved back to Chile for a couple of years. Adult now, not growing up. But yeah, formative years, I would say the UK would be the most impactful.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like the UK. It's kind of fun to go there and get those meat pies on the road and eggs for breakfast. They have a really good breakfast in the UK.
The breakfast in the UK is the best.
That's the best.
And the pasties.
Yeah, not so much
Pasties
the
are good.
cameras everywhere. That started a bit annoying.
Yes, that
And,
was
some of the other things that seem to have happened over the
Big
years.
Brother. Yeah, Big Brother's big in the UK.
But the breakfast is excellent.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right, high school. Oh yeah, we did that one, didn't we?
College. Oh, yeah, I went
My
to college.
school. No, I didn't do my high school.
You did say high school. You went to okay. What's your high school?
I went to Fernwood Comprehensive School in Nottingham.
Oh, that's not what I expected.
Why?
I thought you were in Chile still, even though I know better.
So Fernwood
Fernwood
Comprehensive School.
That's where you're wearing your dress on your motorcycle? Oh, they wanted you
yeah. So my brother, when I turned 16, my brother bought me a motorbike.
Don't buy your girls motorbikes, guys or brothers.
Your little sisters. He was big into motorbikes, right?
Even if you like them a lot, just don't do it.
Yeah. And so I lived quite far because when I first went to that school, I was just on the edge of their intake for the area. And my mom knew people, so they put me, it was the best school actually. It was very, very good school. It's still actually top school for mathematics in the UK, right? Still to this day, right? And then my mom moved us. We moved houses because we lived in projects, right?
I don't
And
know what that means, but
projects
I
is
kinda
like government
feel like-
schools.
Okay.
Very, very rough, nasty areas. And this school was like in the high end of the upper middle classes, you know.
I know when we were in England, we went to your son's house, and you said that was a project house. It looked perfectly branded, good enough to me. Is that a project?
Yes, but it was a nice project.
Okay.
There's different levels. So she moved us to a little better project area.
Okay.
Very nice house, actually. And but the school decided to keep me, and she applied for me to continue. But it was a bus ride away, so it was like half an hour on the bus to get there. And then my brother bought me a motorbike, so I used to go to school in a motorbike. And what Larry is referring to is that I used to wear long pants, like trousers in England. They're called trousers, because I was on a motorbike to go to school. But this school was very traditional, and girls were not allowed to wear trousers. Only in the winter were girls allowed to wear trousers, but not in the summer, not the rest of the time. Like when it's snowing and cold, that's when you can wear trousers. But if it's not snowing or cold or raining, I mean, it's raining, you still have to wear a skirt. But if it's not snowing, you couldn't wear a pair of trousers. And I was wearing trousers, so the vice principal stops me in the corridor. Says, "Inelia, get over here." So I go over there. It says, "You know, you're you're wearing trousers and you're not allowed to. And I says, but sir, I've got a motorbike. If I don't wear trousers, you know, the skirt's going to go all over the place and it's dangerous. I have to wear covering on my legs, you know? And he says, well, he says, you're not allowed. So you need to come to school on a skirt. Tomorrow I want to see you in a skirt. I says, okay, sir, I'll wear a skirt tomorrow. So the next day, and actually he didn't see me the next day, but several days later he saw me on the skirt. So the skirt that I chose was a mini skirt that barely covered my knickers, right? Because if it was any longer, it would flop up and cover my face, which is very dangerous if you're on a motorbike. It's one of these motorbikes that is like a sports one, you know?
And your face to skirt level isn't very far.
No. Right? And, or you could get caught up on other places on the bike. It's a moving parts, you know?
Plus, you probably were trying to make a point.
Yes, maybe. And it was very, very tight so that it wouldn't move.
Yes.
Because I didn't want anybody looking at my knickers. Right? So it was very, very tight, very, very short. So I could get my legs over on the bike, right? Sit on the bike with a skirt on.
My imaginations are trying many ways to make this work, and every time I see your knickers. So, go. I don't know what you did.
So, anyways, he sees me walking down the corridor and says, Inelia! I said, what, sir? What are you wearing? I'm wearing a skirt, sir, like you ordered. He says, that is more like a belt. How could you... Why are you wearing that? And so I explained to him my situation. And I says, I'm not going to put my life in danger. So, and I don't want people looking at my knickers. So, you know, this is what I'm going to wear. If you're forcing me to wear a skirt, this is what I'm going to wear. And he writes down, he puts his little writes and says, okay, this is a note allowing you to wear trousers throughout the year. Only you. Nobody else. Thank you, sir. So I was the only girl wearing trousers in that high school. Yes, that's the school I went to. And yes, I missed so much school that two things happened. I forgot where my locker was and the combo. But also that the same vice principal told me that because I had missed so much school that I was only going to be able to take either O-levels or GCSEs, but not both, which was 2 tiers of education that is parallel, GCSEs being the easier ones than the O-levels. And I said, no, I'll take the O-levels. Right. So I did. I took a whole bunch of O-levels. I got top marks and everything, except for one. Got a D. I thought a D was a fail. I didn't learn that D was an actual pass for a long time. And then I dropped out, really. At 17, I dropped out because over there, the system is just slightly different. You get all your high school at 16, and then if you want to go to college, you do 2-year university. You do 2 years to a college. When you're 18, you get A levels, advanced level education, and then you go to university with those. Or you get it's better to get A levels. I never did. So I wasn't qualified to go to university.
Well, I was.
Okay, college. Further education, darling. What did you do?
When I was in the Coast Guard, yeah, we went to our QMA school, which is quartermaster is the QM. Quartermaster is the navigator to learn how to do charts and talk to each other and flashing light blinks, blinks, and with flags and that kind of stuff. How to be the navigator's assistant, navigator, pilot, everything on a ship. I went to that school in the Coast Guard because that school had the least wait.
Waiting time.
Yeah, waiting time. So when you get in the Coast Guard, you get to show up as a seaman's apprentice.
Okay.
Which is short code for do the dishes and mow the grass and do the slave labor.
Yeah, polish the brass.
After you've done all this like boot camp and now you get out and your boots are shining, your uniform is sharp, and you've done all this stuff to get this job, now you're doing the dishes and mowing the grass. Like,
Peeling potatoes.
I was like, I really didn't need boot camp to learn how to do any of this crap. I could totally mow the grass without all this shit. Or uniform or any of that crap.
Yeah.
But, that's their system, so. Yeah, the quickest escape route out of that was either bosun mate or quartermaster. And a bosun mate, they were seamen's apprentices who got to be in charge of other seamen's apprentices, basically, and tell them to paint and to cut the grass.
Okay.
So that wasn't
So
super
exciting.
attractive. Yeah, and the other one, quartermasters, gets to go on the ships and drive them around, and that one was super unattractive to most everyone who, for some reason, joined the Coast Guard not to work on a ship,
Oh, okay.
which is weird.
Yeah, it is weird.
But
yeah.
that seems to be the case. So if you sign up for that school, you're out of there in a couple of months. So I was out of there in a couple of months. I went to quartermaster school, which is in Chesapeake Bay, Yorktown. Sort of like where Washington, D.C. is.
Okay.
And Norfolk Naval Base, a giant Navy base. And a completely different environment for me. And as part of that, you meet interesting characters. One of the interesting characters I met at QMA school was Robert Cobb, who at that time was my other brother from another mother and a different dad. It's quite peculiar in a extreme way, and like out of the box on everything, which was interesting.
Odd.
It was
To find
odd. It was
somebody like
interesting.
that.
It was like kind of entertaining, right?
Yeah.
So he suggested that we go to college while we're at QMA school, which, of course, why not? Let's go to college while we're at QMA school. And we went to college, the College of William and Mary.
Yeah.
And our college, that's actually a famous college. I put it on my resume now to this date. I went to the College of William and Mary. And we actually just took creative thinking class. It was an hour or so in the Wednesday evening or something.
Okay.
And we just did a lot of puzzles, like, can you find the whatever in this? And here's the situation, how do you solve it? It's just a class to teach you creative thinking.
Nice.
And I graduated, I got top marks. I was very creative.
Cool.
That was my college.
Nice.
And I also graduated QM school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do mine now.
Oh, you went to
Next
college too, huh?
I did.
Was it significantly
Even
longer?
though I did not qualify.
You didn't qualify,
finish.
honey. You didn't get your A's.
I did not get my A's, right? I was living in Ireland at the time with my kitty winks, all little baby things, toddlers, and very small children. And I made a friend in a Buddhist group who, at one point, she arrives at my house super excited. She said, I just got a temporary gig at a university, and I think that this degree is just up your street. I think you're going to love it. And I said, what is the degree? It's called communication studies. And part of it, the part that she was taking, she was a professional photographer. She said, I'm teaching the photography part of it. But look at the curriculum, she said. And she showed it to me, right? And I'm like, oh my God, this is perfect. Because I'm fascinated by communication, and she knew this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I said, this is perfect. I need to go to that school. But I never finished high school. So she said, how old are you? And I think I was like 21 or 22 at the time. She says, you just qualify as an adult student. Adult students don't need a high school education. I said, are you kidding me? He says, no, it's true. You just have to pass an interview and pass a test. You do a test and you do an interview, you're in. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do that. So she says, she gives me the address, how to apply. So I apply, right? And then I get called in for this interview. And I arrive with the interview place. And it's weird because it was for the young kids. They didn't get any interviews. I think they just had to pass with, AAA, A plus pluses, and have good community, whatever. It was a very good university. Hard to get into. And I'm sitting in this room, people waiting for their interview, and they were all adults, like real adults, not just 22.
20 barely.
Yeah, barely adults. And they were all wearing suits, men and women. And I'm wearing a long sweater, purple one, with psychedelic leggings.
Right.
And my hair, I think, was short at the time, you know, and it's like I was a little bit goth in my makeup at the time, you know. And I'm looking at everybody going, oh shit, I really fucked this up. So I didn't know what to expect or anything. So I go in and there's a panel of school heads for the communication study program and the dean of the university. Like I said, the other part is they only took like 3 adult students per year. So they wanted winners, right? People who would actually win, like get really good education out of this. So there was a seat in the middle of the room and then this panel in front of you. And I sit down, you know, and I look at them and then they say, one of the first questions was, okay, so how many universities have you applied to? And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, how many universities are you applying for? What other universities are you applying for? It's like, none. Why would I? He's like, well, that's traditionally, in case you don't get into one, you would want to, you know, have options.
Backups.
And it says, well, I'm not interested in your university. I'm interested in the communication study course degree. That's what I want to do. And they look at each other going, oh, okay. So if you don't get into this university, where are you going to go? I'm not going to go to university. I'm just interested in, I guess I'll apply next year or something again. And they're like, okay. So that's how it started, right? So I can't remember. I think the interview was like an hour or 2 hours long. At some point, halfway through, these people started laughing. And one of them laughed so hard that he nearly fell off
His chair. Yeah.
Oh, actually, I think he might have. And I'm like, oh my God, I
really
messed it up. I messed up this so bad. And I kept trying to fix it.
It's not a comedy
Right?
routine here. You're supposed to be
I'm trying
serious
to
about
fix
this,
it.
Annie.
I kept trying to fix it. And every time I'd say something else, they would laugh even harder, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, you know. Anyways, at the end, one of them says, okay, so we run out of time. Thank you for coming. We'll let you know. Be aware that it takes 4 months for the review panel, blah, 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 and you'll get a letter and blah, 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 you know. And as I'm coming out, the secretary says,
Like
okay.
4 months, only.
Yeah. So, and the receptionist, the secretary, she says, okay, so just to let you know, she says, yeah, it takes 4 months. If you get a very thin envelope, just throw it in the trash.
Don't bother.
Don't bother. It's just going to be hard and disappointing. If you get some nice thick envelope, big A4 envelope, thick, that you're in. Right, so open that one.
Okay, good.
Great. Excellent. 4 months. Got it. I leave, right? And I'm like, yeah, I messed up so bad. I mean, all the other people were serious. They were wearing suits, all the things. And here
Proper
I am.
adults, even.
They were all adults, yeah. Yeah, so I went home disappointed. I had a big cry on the way, and you know, well, that's the end of my university career, you know. And it was about less than a week later I get a big thick envelope. Less than a week, and I'm like, what? I got in. So, anyways, I went to that college, university. Big core universities there.
Did you ever find out why it came so fast?
Yeah, so when I graduated several years later, the dean, where they shake your hand and give you the degree and everything, and he came up to talk to me, and I'm looking at him like, who is this guy, right? Because
Yeah.
it's a big university. Why would I know the dean, right? And he looks at me and says, you have no idea who I am and why I gave you your degree just an hour ago, right? And I said, no, I don't know who you are. I'm the dean of this university.
I'm sure you had a big laugh again.
Yes. And he said, okay, I want to tell you something I couldn't tell you before. I said, what is it? He says, well, yours is the most memorable interview of my entire career. And I've been dean of this university for several decades. I still remember your interview. And it was unique and most memorable. I insisted that you'll be accepted immediately.
That's good.
Yeah.
Probably
and
would
then,
have moved on to other things if it had to wait
Yes.
4 months.
Yeah. And then he said, a couple of other things, because I also got a full scholarship after 6 months, because I only had 6 months money. And then after that, I was screwed. So they gave me a full scholarship. He said, I also made sure that you got the scholarship. And I'm very glad that you finished your education. He said the other thing that was, we were not able to or allowed to talk about, he said, but I can tell you now. The test, and the test was a book this big, right? It was a rectangular book, like about the size of this, a bit bigger, a rectangular book.
Like 8 by 11, like this size, normal size or bigger?
Longer,
Just a regular?
yeah.
Longer.
And you had to answer these questions in this book. He said, when you went in, he said, this is not an IQ test. But it kind of was. It wasn't IQ, it wasn't that test, but it was an intelligence test. Another test, it did other things too. He said, that's the highest result that we've had in the history, not only of this university, but of the test itself. We've never had such a high result. Anytime, anywhere. And so, yes, of course, you had to come to this university. And like, oh, so my English education came in handy. Because my British education or high school, the last 2 years, they taught you how to get good marks at the O levels, which was the only mark that you got in education. It didn't matter how good you did for all your entire school career, right? 16 years of school did not matter. It was only the exams at the end that mattered. So for the last 2 years, that's all they taught you, how to get a good grade in that exam. So I was really good at it.
We're
So
pretty
that's
good at these exams. I
did. It's like I got really, and when I went to that university, I used all the methodology of how to get a good grade, which was basically, it's not that hard. You go really quickly through the book, and as you're going through quickly through the book, you answer everything you know from beginning to end. You finish the book. You finish it with all the answers that you know. You only answer those. You don't stop. You don't take a pause. You don't even look at the other ones. Then you do the ones that you have to calculate or you have to work on. So if you have to do a little bit of maths or reasoning or anything like that, you do those. The ones that you have to spend a little time, but you might get the answer. You know you probably will get the answer to. Then you do those from beginning to end. You don't pause. You don't do anything else. And finally, you go through the ones that you don't know, you haven't got a clue, and you guesstimate them. You guess. You just answer everything. But the last
good
ones,
guess,
the good guess. You just guess, right?
like a reasonable guess.
And what you do is you complete it. You finish it. You answer every single question in that book. Mm-hmm. So that was the methodology, really. We had a lot of practice in high school. So it's really good at it. I didn't tell the dean that, right?
Well, I mean, that's a part of it. It's not
Let
like
him think that I'm intelligent here.
you are intelligent. You take the test correctly.
I did, yeah.
I did something similar in the Coast Guard. To get in the Coast Guard, you have to take an ASVAB, they call it. Mm-hmm. Or any of the military. It's called Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery.
Okay.
And it's a giant test. It takes hours all day long. You go sit in this room, and it's all timed. You have to answer the questions. All of the, there's more questions than you can possibly answer.
Well, that book also is designed that way, yes.
Unless
you do that methodology.
Do the methodology that you just tried, which is the one I used
Mm.
also. And when I finished the ASVAB, I had all 99 percentiles.
Yeah, nice.
And they said, well, we'd like you to be a nuclear physicist in the Navy. I'm like, I don't think so.
That would have been a different life path.
That would have been a whole
very different life path. Yeah.
Jeez Louise.
Wow. Yeah. All right. So that was college and federal education. Tell me about. Oh, you have actually been talking about your first job, right? Oh no,
My first job? No.
No, that was a different
I had
one.
the best first job
Yes.
in the entire city of Alaska.
Yeah.
Do you know that I grew up?
Tell us about that. What was
And
your
the
first job?
parent, there's a certain age where you can get a job in Alaska. When I was a kid, and if your dad will sign a paper, then it could be even a little bit earlier, like 2 months earlier.
Okay.
And it turned out the very day that I could be okay to, get a job,
You did.
I got my job. at the best place in the world.
Tell us about that. What is the best place?
It was the first McDonald's in Alaska.
What?
Yes. Literally, you're like a rock star.
Yes.
That McDonald's
Was it
had
in the
entire
70s, 80s?
towns,
80s probably?
80s, entire towns in Alaska send an airplane charter to go to McDonald's and pick up food and bring it back to their village or their town or their city. So we get orders for 1,000 cheeseburgers, 1,300 quarter pounders, 1,000 Big Macs, 700 milkshakes, that kind of stuff. You know?
Wow.
Like, the charter a jet even.
We're superstar.
Superstar status.
So where do you
work? Oh, I got a job at McDonald's. Really?
Were you the big McDonald's guy?
No, I was that's where I worked though. And it actually was good. Because at that age, your first entry into work world,
They
you know.
actually have a very
It
good
had a very
management
good training and management
Yeah.
program. It had
The
lists,
management program is
checks
top
off,
notch
and
in McDonald's.
stickers on
Well
your
known.
thing, so you know when you like
Yeah.
qualify for a cash register, and you had to qualify to be the drive-through and to qualify to cook the foods and all these stars and things. So I did really good in that atmosphere, and it was really nice to be exposed to that training, because
Yeah.
the training that I got I could use when it came later for me to teach people what to do and how to do
Nice.
to make them more effective at, you know, if you're at your job,
Yeah.
it's more likely you're going to keep it and enjoy it if you're actually good at it or effective at it
Right, and acknowledged.
and acknowledged.
Yes,
right?
definitely acknowledged.
So it was great. I enjoyed it. I ate lots of excellent food.
Yeah,
But back then it was probably more excellent than it is now.
definitely.
But back then it was so
They
good.
still had
Oh
real
my
materials
God.
and it wasn't full of nanobots.
It's so good.
They have
Yeah.
changed.
It has
Alright, cool.
changed, but back then it was the best place you could ever dream about.
Can I talk about my first job?
Yes.
My first job, actually, when I dropped out of school at 17, I couldn't get a job. They had something, I can't remember, you know, like there were no jobs anywhere in the 80s. They had a market crash and economic crash everywhere, and there's no jobs. So I decided to make my own job.
There you go.
At 17, I decided that I took some night classes on marketing, sales, business planning, and running. And I started my first company. It was a making food, what's that called? Catering company. And I decided to give it an edge. She said I saw this opportunity, and then I gave jobs to the adults around me. The opportunity that I saw when I was taking these classes, which were being given by the government to try and generate industry, was that the government was big, right? And it was getting bigger because there were so many unemployed people. And they kept doing trainings. And in the trainings, they needed food to give to these people who getting trained. And I noticed that there was a lot of push towards like positive, whatever it's called, giving work to minorities, right? Minority groups. So I applied for all of the above. I started sending in my, bids for catering as a Latin American group of refugees status people. And so the minorities was there, the race was there, all the things. And I would get the contracts. And then we would go. But I left after a year or two because one of the things that I thought idealistically would be great would be to make it a co-op. I was 17. And I created a co-op which turned into a nightmare because these adults decided that I was too young to boss them around. It was a co-op, so they had a say. And they had a say, and we would spend 3 or 4 hours arguing about the color of the napkins. And at one point, I'd had enough. And they were making decisions that were stupid decisions, contrary to what we were there to do, which was to make money.
Yeah.
And
Contrary
create-
to your own self-interest.
Yes. And there was like drama and power grabs and all the things. And I decided I'm out of here. So I left. And the company collapsed soon after that. And can I talk about my second job?
That probably be bad. Good, yeah, because co-ops, I did co-op too, and my experience with co-ops is
It was so bad.
it sounds good maybe walking into the door, but when you get there, you realize why the most companies aren't operated that way.
Exactly.
There are a few,
Correct.
but for the most part, they operate in a different way.
Very
They just
different.
use the co-op word. They have
Yes.
the people signed up like co-ops, but most of
Yes.
those people that are in that co-op don't even really know what they're in.
Right.
But they get a
Right.
check every now and then, so I'm in a
Yes.
co-op.
Yeah.
That kind of co-op seems to work okay.
Yeah.
The other kind,
No,
not so much.
Not so much.
Not so much.
Yeah. My second job was when I was 18. I had this other job. I had two jobs at one point. And it was in a little magazine, a national magazine in the UK called Peace News.
Nice.
And it was funny because, I didn't really speak English that well. But I went from, I went from making tea in this magazine
Right.
to editing the articles.
That's a small jump when you're 18.
Yes, it was pretty big. But I was really good at it. And then, like writing also, they wanted me to write little articles and things. So I really loved that job. It was so good. I loved it. Then they sold the company. The magazine got sold and they moved out of Nottingham. So that was the end of my job there. But I really loved it.
It's strange how I think in my experience too is we get put into jobs that are well outside the spectrum of what you would expect a person of your age and maybe even experience or abilities to like be in, and yet that's where they put you.
Yeah.
Like on the cruise, I got a job at a cruise ship.
You were even
I was
underage.
19, and I was the chief steward who's in charge of the bar, running the bar. You have to be 21 to even be running the bar,
Right. Oh, drink alcohol.
or well trained, of course.
Yes.
But somehow or other, they put me in charge of the whole damn thing.
Yeah, that's true.
And I'm like, sure,
yeah, I think the human collective picks up on leadership, right? Skills,
must be.
I think so.
Because I never really had, it wasn't like the people that were working there who had, I don't know, lots more experience in that whole world. Because I had never even worked in a bar before. I'd never even been to a bar before. You have to be 21.
Exactly, yeah. Oh, that's
And yet
hilarious.
they still listen to me.
Yeah,
I had a lot of fun in that job.
that's nice. That's good. All right, what brought you? Oh, we were going to talk about Waking Journey, but I think we covered that actually in our...
What woke you up? No, we didn't
Yeah.
cover it at all.
Okay.
But I can make mine quick.
Okay. What woke you up, honey?
So I was driving to pick up my dad at the airport one day. And I think I was texted him at Elwha, almost to the Elwha bridge. And he said, "Did you see the news? An airplane hit one of the towers." I'm like, so I guess accidents happen. And then when I got to the Elwha bridge, he said, "Another one hit." And I said, "Oh shit. That's not an accident.
That's not
Two of them hit."
accident, right.
And he said, "All the airplanes are grounded. I'm not coming." So I was like 2 hours from home and turned around and I went back home. And that was a impactful moment, but that didn't wake me up. But it was impactful. What woke me up was when I got the Ascension 101 class.
But you would have...
After having explored the various waking ups to this, there's like Project Camelot and whistleblowers and these kind of things. This is sort of waking up. It's sort of becoming aware that maybe not all the stories you've been told are correct. But
from the
there's
9/11, huh?
right, because 9/11 was one of the topics. It's like,
Yes.
did that happen the way they said it
Right.
happened, that you way that you believed to happen, or did something else happen?
Right.
And as you dig at it, you like find a lot of these inconsistencies and really random, weird, like the passport flew out of the airplane and landed on the ground right in front of the police officer, so he could tell who it was that was the hijacker. That sounds pretty bullshit now, but at the time it's like, how lucky are we?
Oh my
we know who it
gosh,
is, right? You know, it's kind of like,
God is shining his light upon you, giving you his password.
yeah. So you know that there was a process of becoming aware that people were lying to me. That's not I'd call the same as waking up. Although it's definitely on the path to it.
I think so, yeah.
It's on the
I'd say
path
so.
to waking up, but that path leads you into some pretty dismal places often enough,
Yes. There's a lot of
you become paranoid. You
hijackers
get
and
hijacked on the way. And
yeah, there's a lot of
flammers,
predators, left, right, and center.
and drunk dudes in trailer courts with long gray hair who are telling you how the world is working through their little microphone. Like they have this secret information that you barely can have access to. But if you knew who they actually were, you'd be like, I know you're making this shit up. Or you might believe your own story, but I doubt it. You don't have anything, any source. You're not a source of anything.
Oh,
but,
boy.
you know, a very entertaining story.
Yeah.
Anyway, that really didn't. I mean, that's part of the path. What really woke me up was the Ascension 101 course. Because when I did that course, and that's your course, by the way, in case you don't know.
I do. I've seen it.
So that course was the most expensive course I had ever bought at the time.
$99.
Yes, that was quite a lot of money at the time. It was like $1 million or
Yeah.
9,000. It was a lot.
Yeah.
And I bought that course, and then I started it, and it said,
Warning.
This
Warning. Warning. Yeah, just said it 3 times, buddy.
Yes, it was quite deliberate warning. This course could change your life dramatically. So be aware before you start that
I take no responsibility
take no
for anything that
responsibility
happens
for what
to
happens
you,
afterward.
or credit for any of the improvements that will happen.
But things are going to change probably. Yeah. And so I took that one with a grain of salt. I was like, yeah, right, everything's fine. I just need to like improve it a little bit. You know, some of the things. Otherwise, it's perfectly fine. Which it wasn't.
Drinking, and yes.
And so I took the course in the first class. Something that's like says this is going to take a year to finish the course. I'm like,
What?
a year, my ass. I'm doing it right now. And so I went on fast track, and I tried to apply the lessons like rapidly. I did them rapid fire, and then I started playing the episodes, I guess, like lessons. In sequence over and over 24 hours a day all the time. I'd have the earphones in, or I'd on the boat fishing or whatever. I just have them going continuously.
Yeah.
So they became a part of my reality, and I had them going even when I went to bed and tried to go to sleep. And one night, while I'm listening to probably one of the chakras, a heart or a head or
Oh, yeah, the
one of these
energy body
chakra ones,
exercise. Yeah, the energy body exercise. Yeah.
I was in my I was out of body, didn't realize what was going on because all I could see was black. And I heard you tell me, you use in your words, even though you're doing a chakra thing on the recording, you stop the recording and then you change the words. And you said to lift up your head. Get your chin off of your chest. Lift up your head.
And
So
open your
I
eyes.
did. I lifted up my head. I felt it happen. I was like, well, that's weird. I didn't know I had my head down. And then he said, now open your eyes. I opened my eyes. I'm like, oh, shit. Okay. Wow. And that is the moment I woke up.
Wow, that's pretty cool. You're welcome.
Thank you.
That's wonderful.
How about you?
Yes. The moment I woke up is when I stepped into singularity, I guess, or trying to. So my awareness went into this little spark of singularity, and then the spark. Uh-oh. Did you switch anything off? The spark of singularity, Brad. Flew above the water in the ocean towards a landmass with lights on it. And it was flying really fast, getting closer and closer to this mass of lights, which is called a city. And then it goes through into the port and through some roads and then gets into a building, a viewpoint, right? And then there's a woman giving birth. And then I open my eyes and I'm the baby.
Oh, wow.
So that's what I would call waking up. It's like, oh, okay, we're here. We made it. We're still alive. Excellent.
Excellent. Good job.
Good job. That's a singularity. Because every memory
That wasn't
before
your
that.
first try, right?
What?
That wasn't your first try at it.
No, it wasn't the first try, but it was the first time that the singularity
Was successful.
successful. So before that, I do have awareness, but it wasn't as a singularity. So I wouldn't call that waking up in this reality, right?
Call it waking up, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
What brought you to this place, honey? Chatting with me on driving to the res, and ask me anything.
Well, I was driving to the res and talking to you as we had for the last year and a half. You said something along the lines of, geez, I'm sure other people like to hear into some of the conversations we have in this truck. We talk about pretty interesting things.
We do.
I'm like, yeah, well, they can get in the truck if they want to listen.
Yes.
And he said, how about we record them? And I went, I don't know about that.
Took me a year to convince you.
And so you convinced me, and we did. And that has evolved to, you know, sitting in a sunroom on top of a hill overlooking Lake Ozette
On a rainstorm.
a rainstorm with the giant cat
Yes.
in a house that it's impossible to buy
Yes.
and life of magic. Talking about the things you get up to with very interesting people
Yes.
who we live next to.
That's my story, sir.
Got it.
Got it. So what would you tell yourself from 20 years ago, if you could? And how old would that Larry be?
I would tell, well, I'm going to skip the 20-year ago thing because I'm just going to tell him the things that I think he should do at the certain times that he should have did them.
But not until the second part of this.
But I got to wait?
Yes, you have to wait.
No!
So go to drivingtotheres.com.
I don't want to wait, no!
drivingtotheres.com.
Come on.
Sign up for the second hour.
Okay.
And then you can hear Larry's answer and mine.
Yes, it's totally worth it. Trust me. You
Our
want to know
panelists-
what I'm going to tell myself
Yes.
because you'll be, you know, if you're at that place of those in those parts of your life, you'll want to have these answers. Trust me.
Yes. Yeah.
So, okay. I'll save it till the second hour. I really wanted to say it now, though.
I
God.
know you did. But
Okay.
no, second hour. Go there. And we'll see you in a few minutes. Love you, darling.
Love you too.
At one point, I remember sitting and there was this woman talking to me. And what she was saying was extremely boring. So in the middle of her sentence, I get up and walk away, go to a different room. And my sister goes after me and she says, what happened? You know, it's like, why did you walk away like that? And she said, because she's extremely boring and I don't want to hear it anymore. And she said, well, you can't do that. You can't just get up and walk away in the middle of somebody talking to you. That's just not done. You have to stay next time. Or you have to tell them you're leaving. So, oh, yeah, I can do that. So a different situation happened, very similar. This person was blah, 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 blah. I'm in myself or whatever. I got extremely bored. So I got up and I said, I'm leaving now because I find you extremely boring and I can't stand it anymore.
Yes.
So I went away.